All right, let's get straight into this. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys see me? Let me get a little, let's do a little 111 in the chat if everything is clear. If you guys can see me, you guys can see my screen, and obviously you can see me moving the chart around. Let's just confirm everything's working. What's happening? What's happening, Carlos? What's going on, Chad Lee, Max, Naz? What's good? Tom, what is good, everyone? So let's get straight into this. So, what we're going to sort of get into today is we're going to have a big masterclass on what's going on with the economics at the moment. And we're going to speak about like the whole everything that's going on with Iran, everything that's going on with the US, everything that's going on with inflation, everything that's going on with crypto, everything that's going on with the dollar. Basically, we're going to get into absolutely everything you need to know because when it comes to these economics, right? This is the most important thing you need to understand when it comes to trading. Your accumulations, your order clocks, your demand zones will never work out unless you've got an economic reason for them to play out. It's like if we'll come back to oil in a moment because this is very crucial for our analysis. But let's say, for example, you're looking at, I don't know, the Dow Jones or NASDAQ, right? And you found a break of structure, right? And you've seen, oh, guys, look, there's a break of structure, there's a fair value gap, there's an order block, and then you're trying to buy it and wondering why is this thing not going higher? It's because the economic narrative and the economic reasons that are going on in the world right now are not giving the smart money and the bigger players reasons to actually want to buy this and send this higher. So that's why you're not seeing any of these order blocks, demand zones, accumulations, whatever you want to call it, play out because the economic narrative is switching. And once we understand what's going on with the economics in the news, we can actually build a bias and know the direction where these markets are going to go without even looking at a chart. So let's get straight into it. Now, I think the first thing we need to sort of have a catch up on, right, is what is actually going on with the whole economic cycle. Now, you guys can see this graph, right? Little 111 if you guys can see it. The photo, right? The four stages. Okay, perfect. So what we have to firstly understand is the economic cycle, right, as a whole, and then understand where we actually are inside of this. Because again, when you can picture and understand where you are in this cycle, you know where the money is going to be flowing. Because what are we trading? We're looking at currencies, we're looking at risk assets, right? US 30, NASDAQ, S&P, cryptos, metals. And all of this has one thing in common. The price rises or falls based on currency inflow or exit. If more money is coming into a space, the prices will rise. If money's leaving the space, price will fall. Very simple. Now, what we have to understand is the environment that we're in, because once you understand the environment, you're going to be able to know if it's more likely for buyers to step in or sellers to step in. So if we sort of have a recap on the economic cycle, right? The first thing we have to understand is there's going to be obviously different stages. Now, we are now sort of in these stages at the moment, right? Stage one and two. And the reason why we're in this stage at the moment is because of what, let's talk about where we've been for the last 4 years, right? So after COVID happened, the biggest thing that happened after COVID was that there was a lot of money that was printed. And after COVID, what we saw was a massive spike of inflation, right? Prices of everything went through the roof and people couldn't afford to live after COVID. You know, eggs were goddamn expensive, rent was expensive, toilet paper was expensive, everything was expensive to live. So no one could really afford living optimally. So what did the central bank do? The central bank are the people that control the money, and they control if there's more money going into the markets or less money coming into the markets. And we was at a time after COVID where there was too much money in the markets because they printed so much money. And because they printed so much money, it led to inflation. Inflation is the cost of goods and services. And once we started to see everything go up, people couldn't afford that anymore. And once you started to see inflation start to spike, right? If we go, for example, right, let's go look at CPI year over year. All right, and let's start looking again. We're going to backtrack from COVID to give you context so that I can show you where we are at the moment. So after COVID, we went on an uptrend of inflation, right? Everyone can see that inflation started to trend up and it's going up. You can see the numbers here, 2.5%, 5%, 7%. We almost peaked out at 10%. Now, what started to happen, think about it. When prices start rising, right, and things are going to get more expensive. You, yes, you, are you going to go and spy a new iPhone if the iPhone price is going up? Are you going to keep spending loads of money if prices are going up? Not really, are you? You're probably going to be inclined to spend less. So when people are starting to spend less because prices are going up, how do you think that can also reflect on some of these risk assets? Well, if people are not buying goods and services, right, then companies will make less profit. And if companies are making less profit, what's their stock price going to reflect? Their stock price will start to go down because their earnings reports start to weaken and people get less confidence in that company because they're making less profit. Why would you want to invest in something that's making less money? So when we start to look at now like what happened with inflation, right? 2021, I mean, like 2020, nothing really happened with inflation. It was pretty stable. Like, it wasn't really doing much. But after like 2021, right, going into 2022, we started to see that massive rise of inflation. And once we started to see that massive rise of inflation, look what we started to see. Right, throughout 2021, 2022, US 30 went into a distribution. US 30 then started to sell off and enter a bear market. Is that a coincidence? No. Right, look at S&P, right? Distribution went into a bear market, right? You look at YM, sorry, we looked at YM. We look at NQ. What did NQ do? Same thing, right? It distributed, went into that bear market. We look at Bitcoin, right? What was Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin was in the super cycle, guys. Buy it. Retard. Right? We distributed, then we started selling off, right? Same thing. We even look at what happened now with metals, right? Same thing. They were selling off. Now, let's look what happened to the dollar. Throughout that period, dollar started to spike. So why did the dollar now spike and why did these risk assets rise and fall when inflation was going up? Now, disclaimer, this is not the only metric of inflation. There's other metrics. So this is just CPI, which is Consumer Price Index, which is just the cost of what the consumer, like, what is the cost for the consumer? What do they feel? You've got PPI, which is the producer level of inflation. So like how much does it cost to make the iPhone or the pieces inside of it? And then you've got PCE, which is how much money people are actually spending. And what we saw throughout that 21, 2022 period was that inflation prices were rising. And once inflation prices were rising, everything was getting expensive. The Fed, the central bank, did not like that. So what did the central bank do? The central bank, right, they had one tool in their arsenal, which was to raise interest rates. Ignore that spelling because this was created with ChatGPT, right? But they started to raise interest rates. And as that inflation was rising and the interest rates were rising, what happened was smart money, right? The real smart money, and I'm not talking about fucking ICT crap. The real smart money, what they were doing was they were seeking the best yield. Yield just means return on investment and where I can get the most bang for my buck. And when we're at a point where prices are rising, companies are earning less, and the central bank starts to intervene and starts to raise their interest rates, what does that mean? Right? When the Fed starts to raise their interest rates, if we take a look at the Fed's funds rate, for example, right, they started to go on that rate hike cycle. And when the Fed went on that rate hike cycle, what we started to see was money leaving risk assets, right? We saw the distribution on the Nasdaq. We saw the distribution on the S&P. But remember, money is like energy and it cannot be, well, it can be created, but it's only transferred in these markets. It's going from one place to another. So where was that money going to? And this is the thing that what people don't understand. They don't understand the flow of money, right? Money, currencies flow like currents. What also has a current? Water, rivers. Rivers, the flow of a river is controlled by a river bank. So if we need to know the flow of money, the flow of water, the currency, we need to know what the central bank is doing because the central bank are the people that control the flow of the money. And if you can identify where the money's flowing based on these principles, based on this market cycle, and obviously, you don't expect to master it all in one training, you need a proper education. But all right, once you can understand that, you can know where the market's going to go without even needing a chart. So where did that money go? That money went into the bond market, right? And this is what the real big boys, and look at that, convenient, the bonds are up today, right? The bond market is what the real smart money and big boys buy because these big boys are not sitting there with $1,000. They're not sitting there with 100K. They're sitting with billions and trillions of dollars. And what they want is the safest and most highest return on investment. So when inflation was rising, all right, and we knew that the Fed was going to combat that and intervene by raising rates because that's the only thing they can do. When inflation goes up or down, the Feds move their interest rates higher or lower. And when they move their rates, what we started to see is the bond market follow that. So when we started to see the bond market, right, rise, this wasn't a coincidence because money was exiting those risk assets and entering these markets. And these markets correlate, excuse me, with the dollar. So we then saw that appreciation on the dollar. That was why, and because we knew what the dollar was doing, that was why we saw that crash on the pound. That was why we saw that crash on the euro. And you guys remember what happened I can't remember the exact year, but remember the Russia/Ukraine invasion? What happened with that? Right? The Russia/Ukraine invasion, the first one, I think it was February 20th. Let me double check. This is very similar to what happened now. February 24, 2022, right? February 24, 2022, right? Where was we in there? We was here, right? And that Russia-Ukraine invasion just created extra catalyst. Why? Why did the Russia-Ukraine invasion create extra catalyst? Why did that cause risk assets to sell off further? And how is that similar to today? Because it's a cycle. History repeats itself. What happens is the same cycle goes on again and again and again. You just get different characters, nothing to do with uncertainty. It's the same thing playing out over and over again. It's just different puppets and different characters playing the media on the television, the tell live vision. And they're going to come and put all this shit in your mind that there's this war. And I mean, look, there's probably real stuff going on. Let's be real here. But for me, I don't like to focus on this noise. I like to focus on the real facts that are going to influence my life and make me money. Right. So you don't need to, yeah, it is distractions. I mean, obviously, there's some places in Dubai where missiles are falling out of the sky, which is very crazy. Right. I'm glad I don't live there. But the point is, for a trading context here, don't let all this thing make you scared. Focus on the real facts, the real cycles that play out again and again and again. And then you're not going to worry about this war shit. I don't even really care about it. This is just adding. So there's two types of things you have to pay attention to: directional setting news and catalytical news. Directional setting news is what I'm speaking about with the Fed, the interest rates, the central banks, right? And then this, because if you think about it, right, when that Russia/Ukraine invasion, inflation was already going up, right? Before that, the Russia-Ukraine invasion was here. Inflation was already going up. The central bank was talking about raising rates. So is it a convenience that the pound was already selling off? Euro was already selling off. Risk assets were already selling off. And then the invasion managed to just happen to send it to that direction quicker. And that's the thing. A lot of you are trying to look at this news event like this war stuff, like, and maybe getting scared, maybe getting worried, maybe getting confused. But this isn't a directional set in news event. This is just an excuse for more money to enter the market and to move them in the predefined directions. So if we sort of bring us to where we are a bit closer now, right? After inflation starts to rise and interest rates rise, the economy starts to contract. There's a decrease of wages because companies are earning less money. Unemployment's going up because companies can't afford to access money. They can't afford to start to hire more people or pay people. They spend less, and that can enter a recession. That's that bear market. Then eventually what happens is that it gets really bad, the economy gets really terrible, everything's really negative, stock prices are through the floor, everything's really bad. The central bank comes in and like, all right, cool. We don't like this, so we have to stimulate the economy now. And they start to stimulate the economy by lowering interest rates. And then once they start to lower interest rates, it basically saves the economy, right? Because it makes everything cheaper, makes everything more affordable, and it floods the system with more money. So people start getting more jobs, things start getting better, right? There's higher wages, lower levels of unemployment, lower interest rates, and spending gets high. And this is where we are now, right? We have now completed the cycle pretty much, and we are now restarting it again and pretty much starting to repeat this exact same thing we saw throughout that 2021, 2022 bear market, right? Now, for those who've been attending our calls, like for the last few months, obviously the team calls we've been doing, right, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we've been speaking about this narrative that this bear market is coming, right? We've been speaking about crypto's bearish, and we've had that massive sell-off. Now we'll get into crypto a little bit later in more detail. So let's sort of talk about this war, and let's sort of talk about why it makes sense now to see the Dow continue to sell off, ES continue to sell off, and NQ continue to sell off, if and dollar to keep rallying, euro, pound to keep selling off, if we keep seeing certain data come out. So let's get into it. So recently, what have we started to see? We've started to see inflation, right? Well, let's first look at this image, right? So if we start to look at, let's come with this. I've got some graphs to show you lot. So first things first, right? If we start to look at the CES establishment survey, what this basically is this is counting the amount of jobs that are on company payrolls. And it basically tells us if businesses are hiring or slowing down. And this matters because what we're starting to see now is job growth slowing drastically. Revisions in the last few months have lowered these job numbers. And it basically means the economy, this bull market we've been in, was not as strong as what we thought. And once you can start to look at what this is, right, you can now start to look at what's going on with the housing market. Because when we start to look at what's going on with the housing market, right, we're starting to see housing levels, the housing starts fall to low levels. Housing starts is like developments, is like contractors, builders starting to build houses. And obviously they're quite smart because they're not going to build houses if people are broke, are they? Let's be real. Why are you going to start building houses if no one's going to buy it? Doesn't make any sense. So the point is, as we're starting to now see these housing levels, right, start to fall as well, this can also be a leading indicator because once we started to see the housing market crash, that's what created that 07-08 recession, right? So we're starting to see demand softening. Fewer buyers are qualifying, construction slowing, people are not having money right now. Now, what else do we need to know? Specifically with the US and Iran war, right? There's something called the Hormuz. The Hormuz is basically a bit of like a shipping slash freight, like, let me show you. Like it's like a big piece of river, right? And 20%, this is very important, 20%, 20% of the world's oil goes through here. 20% of the world's oil goes through here. And you know what they're doing at the moment? They're shutting down. So if they're shutting this down, right, we're seeing a supply shock in oil. Now, what does everything in the world run on? Oil, right? What's your house being powered by? Oil, right? What's your car powered by? Oil. So what we can see now is oil prices starting to rally. Now, seeing this rally in oil, right? Think about it. If oil's going up, prices are definitely going up. I filled up my truck this morning and that was not the same price as what I paid last week. I mean, given I'm in Thailand, it's still pretty cheap. But the point is this, prices are starting to rise. Now, if we're seeing now think about this. If we're seeing fuel prices rise and everything in the world costs fuel, right? A shop, they have to have lights on, they have electricity costs, they have shipping costs. That cost fuel, that cost money. So if 20% of the world's oil reserve, well, not oil reserves, if 20% of the oil shipping that's going through that route is now being cut off, there's less supply. So when there's less supply, what happens to prices? Prices rally. So what we're starting to see is the price of oil obviously jump up. Now, this is more supply shock, right? This might not be long-term inflation. It's still too early to know. But if we're starting to see oil prices rising, the economy already slowing, housing starting to roll, jobs flattening, and we're getting oil shocks, we're seeing oil push inflation up short term. Markets are going to start to reprice the Fed's intervention and what they're doing. What does that mean? When the Fed start to make decisions and the Fed make movements, this is what affects the bond yields. And what did we say earlier? The bond yields is the flow of money. And once you know where the money is flowing, right? Once you know where this stuff is going up, we're going up, right? What's this going to do? This is going to extract capital out of those risk assets, out of Bitcoin, metals, indices, right? NQ, ES, YM. It's going to cause money to leak out of them and go where? Straight into the bond market. And yes, the Fed could start raising rates. However, it's a bit early. We need to see continued trends of inflation. On Friday, what did we have? We had PPI that came out on Friday. And Friday's PPI showed us, right, that prices are also starting to rise on the producer level. Same on PCE, right? We're seeing prices, I think it was core, if I'm not mistaken, right? We're starting to see prices rise. And if inflation's starting to rise across the globe, right, look at that, from 3.3 to 3.6%, we're starting to uptrend again. And if we continue to uptrend with inflation, the central bank continues to intervene. We keep seeing this softening of the labor market, keep seeing this softening of the housing market and credits. This is going to catalyze this bear market further and again and again and again. So for me and for you, what we now have to start to pay attention to is what's going on with oil, what's going on with these labor markets, what's going on with inflation, what's going on with the interest rates. And again, we know that the Fed on their last, if we look at their last Fed meeting, they pause rates, right? Because they're worried about inflation. So now moving forward, right? Obviously coming out this week, we've got NFP coming out on Friday. This is going to give us a good indication of what's going on with the labor market, if it's continuing to slow or showing strength. Unemployment rate, we need to pay attention to that. Because if unemployment rate starts spiking, well, it's even continued narrative for that market to crash. And then next week, we've got more inflation readings, PCE and CPI next week. And if we continue to see these numbers continue ticking up, right? And the Fed keeping a hawkish narrative, which means they're scared of inflation. They want to raise rates. Raising rates starts to drive money into the bond yields, right? When money gets driven into these bond yields, you have a repeat of what happens in 2021, 2022. Let's go on the 2 year, right? What happened 2021, 2022? Bond yields went through the absolute roof. Why? Because interest rates were rising. Why? Because inflation was rising. So that meant when bond yields were going absolutely parabolic, crypto was crashing. So all those dip buyers in 2021, 2022, what happened to them? They got smashed, right? End of 2021, they all got smashed. Unless obviously, because by the time it got down to here, no one was really buying anymore. What happened to all the buyers on the stocks? They got smashed too when those bond yields went up. So what are we starting to see now? The writing on the wall. We're starting to see the same thing, right? We also know, right, that there is a Nvidia bubble going on at the moment. Also like another reason why this labor market is softening, right, is that they're using AI, right? Like AI is not replacing jobs right now. Like I know there was I forget the exact name of this company, but there was a company, maybe some of you saw it on the news. They cut like half of their staff. And they're not cutting half of their staff because NVIDIA AI is replacing jobs. No, they're cutting their staff because the whole markets were overvalued. And basically, just like a bag of chips, like those Lay's bag of chips, and it looks like it's full, but there's only like 10% of chips in there. It's the same thing what's happening with the stock market. Because a lot of this money that's going around with NVIDIA, right? It's just the same money and it's pumping up the NVIDIA stock price. It's the same money that's just basically like there's not new money coming into Nvidia's market cap. There's no new money coming into the space. It's the same money they're taking, spending it on like a sub company that buys their chips, and then obviously when that company's buying their chips, the profits are going straight back to Nvidia. So they're just recycling money and artificially inflating their stock price. You also look at what's going on with the Buffett ratio, right? This is also a massive predictor of big crashes, right? We know that the stock market is extremely overvalued because the amount of, well, this was as of 20, the end of 2025, September, right? But it's still pretty accurate where we are now. It's only increased slightly. But the total stock market value was 70 trillion. And the GDP, which is the gross domestic product, the money they're actually producing, was only 30 trillion. So again, big bag of chips, only a tiny amount in there. So what we're seeing right now is the stock market is overvalued by over 200%. And normally, once you start to get to these two standard deviations, which means the stock market is massively overvalued, you get bear markets. What happened? 70s depression, 80s depression, 2000 dot-com bubble, '07, '08 recession, COVID crash, 2021, 2022 bear market crash. And where are we right now? Extremely overvalued. Writing's coming on the walls. Now, when you start looking at this from a slightly different perspective, right? An emotional, say again, Nate, what do you mean UPS? So we start looking at it from this perspective, right? From a sentiment perspective, what is sentiment? Sentiment is now sort of paying attention to what the masses are doing and doing the opposite. So when you start to understand emotions, right? Like if we go back to, again, let's use COVID as an example, right? Like in 2019, let's use Bitcoin as an example to make it easier, right? Like when we go back to here, when I was buying Bitcoin, right? What was the emotion of the market? 3K. Everyone was talking about, oh no, the Bitcoin's rubbish. Don't buy this. They was in disbelief. Then it started to shoot up, to 5K, 10K, 12K, 15K. The emotion started to switch to hope and optimism. People are like, oh no, the rally's real. Then it starts shooting up what to like 20K, 30K, 40K. The emotions start switching to thrill and belief. Time to get invested. I got to buy more. Then when we start smashing to like 69, 420, lol, right? When we start to hit those prices, everyone was euphoric. Everyone was talking about Bitcoin. And then what happened? It dipped. Why did it dip? Because all of the economics were lining up as what we're seeing right now. The same shit is happening, right? The same shit. So then what happened, right? Now, also, Bitcoin, extra nugget, Bitcoin follows a 4 year cycle. It does 3 years up, 1 year down. Because every 4 years, the supply of Bitcoin gets cut in half and it creates a cycle around it. So you have 3 year bull market, 1 year bear market, 3 year bull market, 1 year bear market, 3 year bull market. And normally what happens at the tops is get those inflation spikes. So is it the coincidence, right, that we went through that depression? We had that crash when Bitcoin hit 15K. Everyone was depressed and angry because all the retards who bought at 65K, 70K have lost 80, 90% of their portfolio. And what was we seeing from a news perspective, right? We were seeing negative news because there's two types of news, quantitative news and qualitative news. Sounds complicated. Quantitative means numbers, statistics, everything I showed you earlier, inflation, interest rates, labor markets, right? Then you got qualitative news, which is like speeches, CNBC, BBC, Yahoo, all that crap. So what was happening at this time? All the news outlets was talking about FTX exchange collapse. Everyone was getting scared about crypto. The news was reporting negative. And then what happened? The emotion started to switch. As we went on that 3 year bull market, why did we go on the 3 year bull market? Because inflation was dropping and rates were being cut. Then we're on that 3 year bull market. What happens? We come to Q4 after the 3 year bull market, and we know Bitcoin always distributes and puts in a top at Q4 after a 3 year bull market. And if you understand what I just said, this will change your life. It puts in a top at the end of a 3 year bull market, right? So Q4, after the 3 years we distributed, and everyone who's obviously been on, our weekly calls, what have we been screaming about for the last year? At the end of 2025, we sell Bitcoin. At the end of 2025, we sell Bitcoin. And what do we get? A sell on Bitcoin, right? And we're going to keep selling off if we keep seeing inflation spike. And all this war, supply shocks, is just going to catalyze this stuff further because it's all predefined. And now, what you do to get your real confirmation is you obviously apply the MOC validation criteria, where we look for our trading plan. And look what we're seeing now. We're seeing our Wyckoff distributions. We're seeing our breaker market cycles. We're in a bear market, right? So in terms of emotions and going back to sentiment, when we was at 128K, right, on Bitcoin, what was the emotion again? Euphoria. Every single person you know, the people have zero financial literacy are talking about Bitcoin. Your friend Joe, if there's a Joe here, right, I'm sorry, but your friend Joe, who's always drinking and smoking weed, is talking about Bitcoin. You know what I mean? You're on the bus and this old guy called John is talking about Bitcoin. Like, this is not the time to buy it. The goddamn president of the United States is talking about Bitcoin. That's not the time to buy, right? So where are we now emotionally? We're like in an anxious slash denial phase. Why is the dip taking longer? My investments are great. They're going to come back. But the way these economics are lining up right now, this thing should keep dropping if we keep seeing high levels of inflation. So now this is where we apply the technicals with the fundamentals because you have your fundamental narrative. So, like, for example, what's YM doing? Distributing. How convenient. Right? What's ES doing? Distributing. What's NQ doing? Distributing. Right? What's oil doing? Accumulating. Right? What's dollar doing? Accumulating. What's bond yields doing? Right? Oh, wait. Accumulating. Right? So if these economics keep happening the way they've been happening, so we keep seeing trends of inflation, keep seeing job growth slow, the housing market keep collapsing, this is going to catalyze the rest of the bear market, in my opinion. Now, I could be wrong, but this is why now I don't marry biases, right? What I do is I create if-then scenarios because it's not like, because here's the thing, you can't predict the future. I mean, yes, you can have very accurate theories and theses 100%. But as a real trader, you have to sort of stay open to change. So when it comes to these news events now and understanding Forex Factory, you're not here like, oh, red folder, I don't trade. No, you're looking at it, understanding what news is going to be directional setting. So, like, for example, this week is trash, right? Let's go to next week, right? We've got inflation data coming out, which will be directional setting. So we look at inflation, PCE, and there's other metrics that are not going to be on here. So you have like non-core, you have PCE, month over month, and this is just produce. So this is inflation, but it is how much money people are spending depending on inflated prices. CPI is the actual price of consumer goods. Then you have PPI, which came out on Friday, which is the producers, right? How much are a producer and manufacturer costing? So normally when you do see high levels of producer prices, normally that gets passed on to the consumer because, bro, if you're a business and it costs more to make an iPhone, of course you're going to charge your customers more, and then of course they're going to pay more, right? Well, depends. So the point is this: as it now as like a trader, it's not your job to guess and predict these numbers coming out, right? It's your job to create if slash then scenarios around this so that you can be on both sides of the coin. So, for example, if I keep seeing inflation data continue to uptrend, I'm extra bearish. Now, I have to confirm that with my price cycles. When I go on the Dow Jones and I see that we've done what? We've just printed a giant ass distribution, right? You know, like this is like it doesn't get any more textbook than this. All right. We pull up our. Also, if anyone's got any questions, you're more than welcome to ping them in the chat. Excuse me, you're more than welcome to ping them in the chat now because I am about economics because I am about to get into like technicals and like trades that I'm going to take today and tomorrow and the rest of this week. So if you do have any questions on the economics, put them in now. If you have any chart questions related to technicals, you can save them for the technical bit. And obviously, anything on psychology, we can do that at the end, or you can wait till the end to answer your questions. It's up to you. But if you have any economic questions now, you can put them in the chat now, and we will sort of go through them. Well, if there's no questions, that means I explained it great. But if you are sitting there confused, seriously, like it's okay because this is a whole new world, right? Like you got to remember, right? This isn't just something you're going to pick up from one exposure. For me, how I learned economics was a lot of conversations with my mentor, attending a lot of trading sessions, and living it over time. And obviously getting a proper mentorship because without a structured education, without a structured blueprint you're following, it's impossible to succeed, in my opinion. Like for me, the reason I was unprofitable for so long is because I was piecing together information from this guru, information from that guy, from this book, and there was no correlation. It's all just random stuff. So of course my results were random. Of course I wasn't getting consistent profits because I wasn't consistent with my education. But once I got consistent and got a proper mentor, actually went through a proper blueprint, that was when my results started to change and become more consistent because I had a consistent input, and that's what creates a consistent output. So of course, yes, if you have any questions, there's no such thing as a dumb question. Like, please don't be afraid, don't be shy. Like, I would rather you ask something and feel short-term discomfort for like 5 seconds, and then after that, you're going to realize it was no big deal anyway, rather than have 4 more years of discomfort because you're too scared to ask the question. You know what I mean? So don't be afraid. Alts. Do you think alts will continue bleeding? So I don't give a fuck about altcoins. But in reality, like for an alt season to occur, this is normally the time of year when it happens, is when you see those Bitcoin crashes. And then normally what happens is you see Bitcoin dominance drop. So if we see Bitcoin dominance drop and this thing keeps dropping, yeah, you can see some money flow into some altcoins. But one thing I tell every single person, right, is altcoin, I don't care what asset it is, you have to apply a trading plan to it, right? Don't just be the guy who thinks alt season, Bitcoin dropping, then you just throw money at a random altcoin because you're going to lose, right? You have to apply a trading plan and you have to apply if you trade the way we trade, you have to apply our validation criteria. Like every asset that I've ever invested into, like even when I was buying physical silver bars, bro, like where was it? I was buying physical silver bars, even physical, well, not physical Bitcoin, like you know what I mean, right? Like physical silver bars when silver was literally 15, $16, $12 an ounce. Why? Because it met my trading plan, right? So even my investments are the same as my technicals. Came into a POI, created a micro accumulation, and it went, right? It's the same thing. So with your altcoins, if it's going to be an altcoin, like you need to make sure Bitcoin dominance drops. If it drops, I mean, this is normally when it starts dropping, like March, April times, you know. So if it does drop, yeah, you know, but obviously you can't just throw money at an altcoin. You need to see the altcoin come into demand. Probably needs to be a low cap coin because the big caps will just follow Bitcoin, and it needs to come into a POI, give a valid accumulation. And remember, accumulations can look valid, but we don't trade what we see. We trade what we can validate. You can have a beautiful woman, right? She can be goddamn gorgeous, but if she walks out of the men's bathroom, that's a red flag. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with these accumulations. It could look like one, but the question is, can you validate it? How do you know the difference between a buyer's one or a seller's one? That's what you have to answer. So economically, we are bearish on indices. Yeah, bro. I mean, especially with this war and this oil uptick, it makes sense. The only thing that can create some short-term spikes up on indices is the earning reports, but even the earnings are slowing down slightly. But yeah, with this continued uptick of inflation, and now this is where you have to go to the technicals to confirm it. Because you can have, like, for example, let's say we go back to that 2021, 2022, right? Like let me zoom out, right? We had bearish economics, but it took time for them to distribute and roll over, right? So sometimes you can have bearish economics, but the market can keep, well, not going up, but it can go look like it's going up because they're bringing it higher to fill sell orders. So like even for this time here, there was economics were looking bearish, but it was still going up because it was distributing. Does that make sense? So you also have to apply the trading plan to it too, which we're going to get into the technical side in a sec. Where else can you look at news that's not manipulated? Mine and Nathan's weekly calls. All right, straight up. But bro, like so I mean, you just gotta look at numbers, bro. Like you gotta look at cold hard numbers and not it's like for me when it comes to like media news. So again, there's two main types: qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative is like CNBC, speeches, Yahoo, that sort of stuff, news media, right? Like you've probably even seen this clip. All right. I don't know if you've seen it. You've probably seen this one. I know some of you lot have seen this one. Like all these TV anchors, you know? Look, is it going to load?
A
I don't know if you
synchronized
guys can hear this.
script
Some media outlets publish these same fake stories
on dozens of local news stations. Same words, same message.
Wait. This one.
Balanced journalism that a synchronized script. We are concerned about on dozens of local news.
So the point is, right, like, oh, yeah, a lot of this stuff is paid by bigger players. So like, don't pay attention to that shit. Pay attention to the numbers, and the facts, and yeah, like the actual numbers. So like, you just got to spend time scouring. Obviously, like me and Nathan, we do this all for you on the outlooks. Like we do, like Nathan does his Sunday one, I do my Tuesday one, he does his Wednesday one, I do my Thursday ones. So as long as you're onto them, bro, you're always gonna be pretty much up to date. Um, but yeah, like Forex Factory is one place, investing.com's one place, central bank websites, investing.com, right? All over the internet, really. But just pay attention to the numbers and cross-reference them as well to make sure they're accurate. CPI has gone down. Isn't this confusing? CPI has not gone down. I mean, so you got to understand. So, like, again, CPI is not just one number, right? And if you're just looking at one number, you're going to be confused. Of course you are. But you have to understand that when you look at inflation, it's a report, right? So if we look at any level of inflation, it's going to be a massive ass document. It's going to have tons of writing in it. And it's your job to now interpret that writing because that's now a fact, that's the report, statistical, and to actually tell you what's happening to prices. So you might see a number come out down. That doesn't mean shit, right? It's the report. Like, for example, I can grow a massive ass belly, but if I'm saying on my scale, oh, I'm lighter than I was last year, that means shit, I got a big belly. You know what I mean, right? So you can't just pay attention to one number, right? You also have to pay attention to all metrics of inflation. So CPI is one. You have to pay attention to PPI, right? You have to pay attention to PCE. You have to pay attention to core, non-core, month over month, and year over year. So you have to look at the trends of all of it. And like if, for example, let's say you're looking at anything in life, right? It's all about what's the trend. So if you have five reasons, like okay, let's say for example, your girlfriend, right? If you've got 10 reasons why you're with her, well, you should have more than that. But let's say you've got 10 reasons why you're with her, and you got one reason why you shouldn't be with her. You still should be with her, right? Same thing with the inflation readings. Like if one thing's telling me it's coming down, I don't give a fuck, bro. If everything else is good and everything else is showing me that it's coming up, that's what I care about. Does that make sense? And yes, the report, bro. Like you have to dive into the report and understand what's actually going on into it. And you have to pay attention to trends. Yeah. There was couple more things I wanted to show you too. Where are we starting to see? Um, I want to show you something too. Where was it? I did want to show you something. Where was it? What was it? Well, I want to show you one more thing. There was one more graph about the economics I want to show you. This one? Yeah, this one. So this is important too. So I should show you this at the start. But when you start to see, right, credit spreads start to widen, or we're starting to see now. If these things keep widening too, this is also another signal that we're late in the cycle. And when, again, this spread starts to widen, you're seeing more stress on the credit markets. And that is another late cycle sign. So a lot of things are pointing to the rules right now. Dropping some serious gems. Got this team coming off my pen. Come on, bro. I'm actually sweating in here as well, bro. Need to pump up the AC. I'm glad you're enjoying so far. Would you say we are in a risk off environment? I mean, So again, with economics, it's never like straight yes, straight no, right? It goes like Wyckoff. So like the Wyckoff price cycle, it will accumulate and then reaccumulate and then distribute, right? Time will pass, opinions will form. Same thing here. So like basically where we are in the economics right now is here, right? Where we're basically potentially at the start of a fat bear market. And again, like if you look at the news and the media now for a second, no one's scared of the bear market. No one's scared. Everyone is blind, running around, la di da di da, things are good, things are really great. They're about to get smacked. And that's just the reality of it. That's how it works. Like that's how you make money in the markets. Your profit comes from someone else's loss. So when everyone's la di da, things are good, no, you're gonna get smacked. Right? And when everyone's depressed and everyone thinks the markets are dead, it's time to buy. So right now, especially with metals too. Like this shits are so overvalued. Like we're seeing 5K, 5.6K on gold. Like this shit is we're coming near the end. I mean, we could see metals act as a safe haven briefly. Sometimes metals can be weird. Sometimes metals can act as safe havens. Sometimes metals can act as risk assets. Um, for me, I don't really care too much about metals. I don't really day trade them as much. But yeah, like everything is extremely overvalued right now. So I do think we are pretty much coming to the end of that bull market and entering a potential bear market. But like that's the thing with economics. You have to stay up to date with it. You can't just now say, all right, on the 3rd of the 3rd, 26, I'm officially bearish and I stay this for five. No, like I have to stay up to date with the economics and keep creating those scenarios. When using AI to take in reports and summarize, are there any particular models to think? So with ChatGPT, bro, and like some of these AI stuff. So honestly, like you just have to have a good understanding of economics, bro, and you just have to learn yourself. Like if I'm being real with you, and it's just like anything because ChatGPT gets a lot of stuff wrong. Like there's so many times, bro. Like even earlier, I was talking to ChatGPT, and I had to argue with this thing because it was trying to tell me like we're fucking risk on. I'm like, are you smoking crack? What do you mean? So sometimes, bro, you just generally have to know this stuff. And like, if you watch some of our trainings we've done some trainings on it on using ChatGPT. If you watch some of those trainings we give you some prompts to use. But what you want to do is take the whole economic cycle. Like we've done a really good training on it. I can send you the link to it. Um, Take all your notes, give that to ChatGPT and add it into its memory, and it will now base it off that. And there's a lot of economic stuff online that is crap, but everything you have to cross-reference and you just have to verify it with someone else who has experience. So like myself, Nathan, other members in the community, when you have this economic bias, tell us what your bias is, tell us your reasonings, and we can also correct you if you're right or wrong. Like you can't just always rely on AI because it's not that good yet, unless you've really trained it. Like even mine, bro. Like even I use it for like for counting my calories in the gym, and like, bro, I've been fighting with this stuff, bro. Yesterday it was trying to tell me, bro, you had a pizza. I'm like, are you fucking high? Like, what are you talking about? So like sometimes it really gets stuff wrong. So it just comes down to you having that base understanding first. But what you can start to do is like to start basically is I would open a thread with it, open a chat, and then give it your notes on economics, give it your understandings, right? So like even our trainings, we've done transcript our trainings and feed it to ChatGPT. You have to feed it knowledge. Like don't just assume AI is good. No, AI is terrible right now unless you use it correctly, right? And feed it the right information. Does that make sense? So for now, like yes, you could get it to summarize it, but for me, it's like summarize it for what? What's it looking for when it's summarizing stuff? You know? And if you've really given it the economic cycle, it will pick out those things. So like because so with ChatGPT specifically, I think I might go on to Claude soon. Anyway, it has a memory. I don't know if it's on the free one, but on the paid one, it has a memory, right? And memory, you can tell it things, don't remember it. So all my principles of my trading plan, everything I've used, I've put in my memory. Well, yeah, even with the FOMC meeting minutes, bro, like because it's like, okay, for example, right? AI is similar to humans. It has a selective focus, a reticular activating system. Well, AI is a robot, it doesn't have that. Humans have it, and it's the easiest way to understand it. You have a selective focus. So what you look for, you will find. Like if you just look on my screen right now and you look for the color yellow, 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 you're gonna find some yellow, right? You might see a little bit of yellow here, a little bit of yellow maybe where else, a little bit of yellow here. Like you find some little bits of yellow. You start looking for red, you start seeing red everywhere, right? So what you look for, you will find. And ChatGPT, if you don't have something for it to focus on, it's just going to tell you irrelevant stuff. So if you're like, summarize this report, for what? What's it going to summarize you? Okay, it might condense it, but then sometimes if you condense stuff, it squeezes out the source, you know? So make sure you upload it with the right data first, bro. Oh, it has a memory but limited storage. Yeah. Can I see inflation uptick? Yeah, yeah. Inflation is upticking, brother. 100%. I mean, it's been upticking a little bit, but now I think we're getting a little bit more certain of these trends, especially with this Iran war. Like we're pretty much see like we're like it's just funny. Well, it's not funny because war is pretty serious. Maybe it's funnier because I'm in Thailand, but like when I say funny, like it's funny how the markets pre-show you everything that's going to happen, and then the news always comes up with these stories, right? Like for example, only my OGs remember this, right? Let me show you this. Just when I'd even trade futures, so only some OGs are going to remember this, right? Where was we? Oh, that buy was historical anyway. But if we go back to this short, where was it? Is it still on here? Yeah, this one, these shorts, bro. Look at that, right? Look at this fucking short, bro. Like, how did we get these shorts? Even when the Russia-Ukraine invasion happened back here, right? Is it a coincidence that we was coming in supply, distributing, breaking market cycle, redistributing? Economics were lining up for bearishness, inflation was rising, interest rates were potentially starting to go up. And then the war comes and it just shits itself. No, it's not random. Like, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. But a lot of people think that I have to be careful what I say here, but a lot of people think that, like, okay, put it like this, right? This is how the world works. Like this is wait. Let me show you a better example. Like a puppet, right? Like all these politicians, all these things are just puppets, and they're just putting a narrative there because there's real stuff and it's all organized behind the scenes. Like come on, you really think these massive world leaders are not sitting there talking to each other and organizing all this stuff? Oh, but Kieran, why would they do that? Why would they do that? Because of this. What is it? Right? It's a massive hierarchy, right? They want the money, right? It's a big game, yeah. Thrive is a great documentary on this because as you go up, right, in that domination and control, you get more wealth and resources, more control, and that's what these elites are really doing. Now, I don't want to get too conspiracy here because I only like to focus on stuff that can actually affect my life, right? Like if I'm sitting here trying to fight the elite, it ain't gonna do shit for me. What's gonna do shit for me is understanding the facts, right, and how I can trade it correctly so I can be on the right side and make money. So what I'm telling you, back here when the Russia-Ukrainian war happened, we had a supply shock on oil. Did we not? Fuck yeah, we did. Right? When those sanctions started hitting, right, when Russia were turning off their fucking pipes, right, we had a supply shock on oil. Is that a coincidence that global markets, dollar was rallying, risk assets were selling off? No, it's not a coincidence. So the point is, it's all written in the sand. And now, when we start going to the charts, and this is where we can get into the technicals now, is it a coincidence that Dow's in a distribution? No, it's not. So we'll come back to Dow in a minute because I'd rather analyze this closer to the New York Stock Exchange. But is it a coincidence that dollars accumulating? All right. No, it's not. And I really doubt we're gonna react from this supply anymore because there's no economic reason. But is it a coincidence we're in a giant accumulation? Sellers climax, automatic reaction. I know. I'll put it up, right? Is it a coincidence that we are in that giant accumulation, all right, on the dollar? All right, let's see, AR, ST, STB, Spring. All right, basically here right now. So as long as the economics keep lining up and doing what we mentioned, we're gonna keep looking to buy these. So what I'm looking at now for the dollar is I want to keep buying it, right? I mean, yeah, so we've been talking about dollar buys since this break of order flow, right? Since start of the year, pretty well. So I say start of the year, start of February. All right, we came back into our demand, we accumulated, was walking it up, all right, over and over and over again, and then we got this. Well, we've now just printed another reaccumulation on here. But hopefully all the economics made sense. If anyone has any more questions on the economics, please don't be afraid to let me know. And the recording will be posted after this. But yeah, so we've got this demand zone on the dollar. I mean, it's a little bit far from here. I don't know if it's going to make it all the way down, but yeah, I want to keep walking the dollar up. There's no economic reason for this to come any lower, especially that the Fed have paused rates now. Like, yeah, there's no reason for this to to keep coming any lower. Um, the only thing that would really switch my bias now is if inflation keeps trending to the downside. We see the supply shock on oil flop, and we basically see the Fed continue cutting rates, which in my opinion, there's no reason to. When we've seen the labor market massively show, where was the job growth I was showing you earlier, right? Like we've seen job growth massively slow. Like it is pretty much paused after all these revisions right now. And what's going on with the the credit spreads, basically everything we spoke about is unless all that gets undone, then that's the only reason I'd probably switch my narrative on this, to be honest. So yeah, for now, I think like it's a little bit crazy for dollar to come this low, but if it does come into here and accumulate, and I will drop these charts in the Telegram as well. Get ready for these. So yeah, for the dollar, I'll be looking for it to come down here and accumulate. Now, I'm honestly more on the side of dollar given a reaccum than actually coming this low, to be honest with you. So if we can sort of see something like that, and price on the lower time frame, it's starting to distribute. So if we can see this thing reaccumulate at the top, we can definitely play more buys on it. But overall, I thought it started at 1 p.m. UK, 7 p.m. Bangkok time, bro, which was an hour ago. Maybe the conversion was wrong, but no, we started an hour ago, bro. So yeah, I'll either see this thing reaccumulate or that. But don't worry, the recording will be up. So let's see. Cool, that's for the dollar. So now coming on to EU and GU, right? Yeah, I don't see any reason for this demand to hold. I don't know if anyone's still holding those shorts we had. I know some of you got in some higher time frame ones, but same thing on the pound. I want to keep shorting this thing down. So where are we? So reacting that supply, we got our next redistro, which is here. Next redistro, which is here. Oh, is it? Okay, maybe it got confused then. But yeah, 7 p.m. Bangkok time was the start of it. But yeah, so we got some supply up here on the pound. So if the pound, and yes, I mean it's the same time we always do these calls. We always do them at 7. So we've got a if we can get a distro in here, I'll short it. Again, there's a lot of weakness in this. I'd rather see this thing build out a little accum. Again, where we are in the week, we can normally see fake outs from the start of the week, see some appreciation, get everyone bullish before smacking everyone down on the redistro. So I wouldn't be opposed to seeing a little bit more of appreciation on the pound and euro across the next few days before we get that rollover to the downside on this. Oh, pound, hella pound. Pound has been super clean, bro. Like this has been super clean. So we got this supply up here, which I would love price to come up into. All right, and distribute out of, or we've got this little lower time frame market cycle, which could probably happen today. So I will keep an eye on that lower time frame one, but price, I'd rather it come a little bit higher and play the micro distros out of them. But yeah, bro, we went for like a whole hour of the economic stuff. Went for a lot. So yeah, we can now speed for these technicals. So right, that's pound and euro. And then now we go on to end any other currencies. Let's see. Let's check gold and silver. There's not much I want to do with silver or gold. I don't really do it, showing a whole lot. I'd rather trade. What's UK 100 doing? Yep, we got the larger distro on this. God damn. So I think we probably should be good to keep shorting this. What have we done higher time frame? Let's clear this up a little bit. Let's clear this up a little bit. Yeah, I mean, demand's not until down here. Yeah, definitely watch the recording, bro. Like, we went for a lot. So yeah, we got a long way to go till we come into demand, and with the economics, UK 100 makes sense to keep going lower. I doubt we're gonna get a pullback this deep. Yeah, look at that sell-off, bro. We're not going. We're not coming this high. So redistribute, walk it down off a micro, pretty much. So I want to keep an alert on that low at like 10.4444. And if it does come into this little redistro, I'll play a micro. So if we scale in, yeah, you can see that attempted distro. Yeah. So we come in, we do that. We come up in here, play a micro. I'll be involved. Now, again, it being early in the week, just be careful that this thing could do something like that before rolling back over, because normally you do get some fake outs at the start of the week. But I'm not, yeah, I don't want to buy it, I'll tell you that. But yeah, let's keep seeing if we can walk this down. Bro, my alerts have been going mad the last few days on UK 100, just been absolutely cascading. Then get into UK 100 in the blue box. Well, let me ask you this. What is the blue box? And why does the blue box matter? That should be your first question. And if you can answer that, you should be able to get to the answer. So what is the blue box yourself? Let me answer that for me, bro. What is the blue box? Okay, the NYSE open. So let's think about this. New York Stock Exchange open. Right. And well, and then okay, and then why do we normally focus on the NYSE? Because we trade US indices, which have a New York and American-based companies. So YM, ES, NQ. So think about this, bro. We're looking at the UK. All right, think about this. The UK 100. The UK 100. Do we need to wait for the New York Stock Exchange for that? No, because it's the UK 100. So yeah, you don't need to. So yeah, knowing about time and price more so matters on what you're trading, because like if you're going into like JPY pairs or the Chinese yuan or Bitcoin, right? Think that gives a fuck about the New York Stock Exchange? No, you know what I mean? Or like AUD or NZD pairs. You think AUD JPY cares about the blue box? Fuck no, because you know what I mean. So it all depends on about the asset class you're trading. So the UK 100 is the UK stock market, so it doesn't necessarily need to be only traded in that market, bro. I mean, can you get continuations in there? You can, but no, like, I don't know if you guys saw what I posted about someone earlier, Mitch, right? Mitch pretty much only trades UK 100 in London open because he lives in Australia. So he doesn't stay awake for New York Stock Exchange. And in his sample size right now, he risks 0.2% and he's up 6.7% profit, just pretty much trading the UK 100. So do you need to trade that in the blue book? No, pretty much, bro. But yeah, keep it simple. Um, yeah. Where are we? So where are we? I mean, like UK, the not UK, the blue box is my preferred session to trade, but no, like it's not necessarily. It's like EU and GU. Do you have to wait for EU and GU to be in the blue? No. Why do you have to wait for that for ES, NQ, and YM? Well, I mean, because let's think about it. The NYSC, these markets are not even open. Right? These are not even open before the blue box. So you cannot trade these before the blue box. So yeah. But anyway, what I want to do on these, really easy. I want to short them. All right. So we have redistributed on NQ. All right. So yeah, I want to short it pretty much. I'm mindful that we could sweep that, but yeah, I want this to come up, build us that distro inside of it, and then roll it to the downside. Pretty simple. Oh, that's UK 100 again. Uh, uh, ES going to be the same. Redistributed. Did we crack this low? Oh, we did. So actually, hold up. This whole thing now becomes our redistro. So now we fib from there. So this is our line in the sand now. So you guys see what we've done. All right, we spent the first hour doing economics, and now we're not even open to looking at buys. You see that? We don't even care about buys now because we have no economic reason for buys to come in. So yeah, for me, this is what I want to short on ES. So we can distribute in here, I'll short, or we can sweep these highs and distribute up here, I'll short too. Ping some alerts. I wouldn't be surprised if today was a bullish day on these. I really would not be surprised. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like this today. Spike up, power hour, distribute, and then maybe tomorrow get some sort of entry. I wouldn't, I mean, I'm not bothered about these giving entry today unless they redistro. I think if they redistro, we would probably would get an entry on these today. I mean, in terms of where we are today in economics, nothing crazy to really send the market higher unless we get some more development on the news or something crazy happens. But yeah, if this thing redistributes or comes up to supply, I'd be down to short them. But I doubt we're going to get this entry today on here, still early in the week. But I will have an alert on this low, trying to short this. Could you counter trend buy him up? You could. You could. Would I? No, I'm good. I mean, you could play the counter trend model, if you get a booth, a reaccum, and a micro, you could play hedge. But unless you're in sell positions from somewhere over here, or the ones from last week, then it's not really worth it. And then YM. Oh, YM's redistro here looks very juicy. But let's zoom out. So we're in this overall leg. So that mitigation was clean. That type 4 ended up playing out. So let's clean this up a little bit. So I would like Dow to come into here and distribute. And I wouldn't be scared if it even came up there to distribute to. So I definitely want to short these. The only thing that would stop me on the short narrative is if we crack all-time highs again. Well, actually, if we crack all-time highs, I would still be short. I would just need economics to change. But unless economics change, that's the only reason I would change my narrative. Cool. And we can get onto Bitcoin. And we can call it a day after that, unless anyone's got any charts they want me to look at or any questions. Remember, like sending charts is the single most productive activity you can do for your trading career. Like you will make more progress in sending charts for 20 minutes than you will do of solo charting for 5 hours. It's not because if you're doing it by yourself, you don't have the reference points of what a profitable trade looks like. So you go to the markets and you're marking it up incorrectly and building bad habits. That's why you make money, then give it all back. That's why you pass the challenge, then blow it the next week and can't get a payout. That's why your account will grow and you'll hit a TP and then you start giving all your money back. And your account is not doing this consistently over time. All right. If your account is not slowly, consistently growing over time, it's because your approach isn't consistent, and your approach isn't consistent because you don't have a framework you're following and you're not getting feedback. Like when I was trying to trade by myself, I'd make money for 1 week, give it all back. I'm wondering why. Because I was putting all the work, I was doing all the back tests, all the charting, but I was reinforcing bad habits by doing it myself. So yeah, sure, I'd hit a TP, but it'd be luck. And I'd be training my eye to bad setups that make it harder for me to even win and succeed because I'm just reinforcing bad habits. So, if you're not sending charts daily, like, yeah, I don't know what you're doing. It's going to be very hard to succeed. So, if everyone's on this call now, I'd recommend you sending a chart if you don't want to continue perpetuating bad habits. I mean, if you do, hey, if you want to keep being a bad trader and keep losing, don't send a chart. But if you want to start to change your trajectory of your trading, send your charts, send your markups. Don't worry about being right. Don't worry about being wrong. Get that feedback. Ask questions. The people that ask the most questions, the people that get the most feedback are the people who are the most successful. It's not a coincidence. And the people that think they can do it by themselves, the people that unfortunately, I don't need mentorship, I don't need feedback, they're the people that stay broke the longest. It's they're the people that go from course to course. They're the people that have been trading for 3 years, 4 years, and still not full-time trading. There's a reason behind it. Like trading success is a science, and I think that's the biggest thing you've got to realize. It's all a science. If you have the right inputs, you always get the right results. There's no luck, there's no chance. It's just about making sure you've got the right inputs. So yeah, keep an eye on these levels to try and short it. Again, I wouldn't be opposed to a little fake out at the start of the week before we roll back over. I wouldn't even be opposed for us coming back into this and reacting from there. But I'm still bearish on this. Again, this is not my line in the sand. We can get a bigger shakeout into this larger 50 or 80. Last thing I'll review, unless there's any other questions, is Bitcoin. So I'm still bearish on Bitcoin, right? I still want Bitcoin to become into like 30K. That does not change. The only thing I'm looking at potentially is just to build the UTAD of the redistro. I mean, if we can get a little bit more of a rally, sweep out these highs. I mean, I would love it to come all the way up here, but I mean, it's not about what I want. There is supply up there, so as per my trading plan, if it comes back to 90K and retests, I'll short it. Or if we get the sweep of this liquidity, okay, we'll check those charts. Good job, bro. If it sweeps all that, then I'll short it. So maybe there could be some short-term intraday buys on this. I mean, we did speak about last week it coming down to this demand. It came right into our 80%, and it did start to accumulate and reaccumulate out of here. So if we're going to get this big sweep to the upside before we roll over, we could see this thing start to walk up from here. So if we do see any little reaccums in here, we could definitely try and walk this up before the death crash. And I think ETH followed the same thing. Yeah, ETH followed the same thing. I mean, ETH came into the 80% we spoke about, and it's now sort of trying to reaccumulate again to see if it can potentially walk to this high. So again, I'm not bullish on Bitcoin. I'll tell you now, I'm fucking bearish on crypto. Like death to crypto this year. 2026 is a bear market. Like there's no on crypto specifically, like there's this mathematically coded for Bitcoin, like the code of Bitcoin, the way Bitcoin was invented, it was literally created to do these 4 year cycles. So I still want it to crash. It's just the question is, are we going to get a sweep up before the crash or are we just going to flop? I don't know. That's not my job. My job is to create if-then scenarios based on the facts. So if it does that and starts walking down, I'll sell it, or if it comes up to supply and distros, I'll sell it. Or of course, if it makes its way down to, I mean, shit, ETH. ETH makes its way down to where are we on ETH? Let's see. ETH shit. ETH makes its way down to $800. Yeah, that'll be nice. $800 ETH, and we in the next few years shoot up to 20K. That'd be great. Or even damn, we $300 ETH would be crazy. But for me, Bitcoin is going to be the main indicator. So yeah, Bitcoin 40K, 30K would be great. And we'll see the vibes. So I'm still short on it just for intraday trade, trying to see if we can get some short term. Wait, zoom out a little bit. Some sort of short term rally before we basically go into this bear market. Again, that's what I'm looking for in crypto. No, I would not be shorting this early. You're in a bullish market. You do not have anything valid here, bro. I would not be shorting this. I mean, you're like minus supply, yeah, but just like look at this strength into this. I mean, it could roll over. You're right. It could if we see dollar strength. But I don't really know what's going on with China too much right now. I don't know what's going on with the trade. I've not followed AED, NZD economics for a while. What's going on with the China trade relationships with Australia? Anything that's sort of picked up? If not, yeah. And from a technical standpoint, I mean, just look at that momentum. You don't want to be shorting into that. I mean, if anything, maybe one, two, still early, something like that, bro. I'm good. Or if we sort of redistro, show some weakness, we can maybe do something like that. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think it's too early. I mean, unless you see something on NZD, Yeah, I haven't traded these in years. Oh, wait, what did you see on NZD? Got weakness on NZD. NZD's leading. So not a bad decision trying to follow it down on AUD. Not bad at all. If that is part of your analysis, I will give you that is a really good idea. But you didn't show that to me. Yeah, he was. Okay. So we okay, I'll give you it. So we're seeing a bit of weakness on this. I mean, I've been waiting for these things to try and hit these lows since since 2021. Yeah, I haven't done, I mean, it's look what we've done in the last 3 years, just gone sideways. So this is not the best environment to trade. I really am not a fan of these. But we are leading on this. So I think what would make me a bit more confident to try and short this, bro, if we get some cause and effect. We can break that. I don't think we're going to get that today, but that would give me more confidence. I mean, I can see they tried to accumulate and they're definitely flopping. Effort and result, sellers are showing more signs of control, for sure. Um, yeah, but I just think it's really early, bro. Like on the like, okay, let's just try not to be nice for a second. Let's think about 1,000 trades. Massive impulse up in a one drive, two drive, three drive of a distro. Yeah, I think that's very aggressive there. And again, think of when you entered. You entered here, right? We were accumulating in demand. So it works out this time, sure, but and this is what the difference between experience, because like an amateur now does win once, lose once, and go and change their plan and be like, oh my God, I did it right. But it's about what happens for the next 1,000 times. For me, I've been trading almost 10 years. And if I take this setup, my journal is going to tell me, beat me up. You know what I mean? Now, you're not wrong. I would just say it's very, very low probable. So if you take this trade 1,000 times, it's not going to win a lot. Like you might be sitting with a 5% win rate. So I don't really want that for you. So I think to make this high probable, bro, redistro, cause and effect, distro, sure. And I mean, I don't know what's going on with AUD and NZD. What's going on with the import and export relationships with China right now? I have not looked at them in a couple of years, maybe. So what's actually going on with them? Have you seen their COT reports? Check. Yeah, do you know much about what's going on with their economics? Okay, NZ short. Where's AD? Hey, it's still a bit long on AD because they're hedging against it. It makes sense. Yeah. So the question is, the biggest thing for me is what's going on with the relationship with China and their import and export relationships. If you can tell me that, that would make me way more potentially aggressive on this. That psychology question, I'll get into that in a sec, bro. We'll go through this chart and then we'll get into it. UK 100. What do I think of this? So let's think. Well, I can't think anything of this, bro, because I don't have any context, right? Like not being a dick. Like I need to see your top down, bro. Let's see where we was, because where you are is more important than what you see. Again, you see a sexy lady, she walks out of the men's bathroom after using the urinal, like, you know what I mean, that's not good. Um, let's see. So you see this was on the 19th of Feb. 19th. So 19th. Somewhere in here. 19. What are you fucking buying up here for? The one's here. See the top note. The question is, why are you even on the chart here, bro? Yeah, what are you even doing on the chart here? Oh, yeah, well, I mean, so what was you playing here, bro? Why was you on the chart here? Why would buyers come in the market here? You know? Why would price accumulate in there? If you're asking me, would I play this? No. SC, AR, ST. Up thrust. One, two, three. I'll wait for that. UJ? Uh, okay, you can show me UJ, bro. We'll take a look at it. But yeah, I thought, and like again, first thing in the trading plan, where are you? But Kieran, you take trades sometimes without a POI. You're right, because I'm a bad man. Not joking. Why do I take trades without a POI? Because I get the spring model. Do we have a spring model? No, we don't. So I was looking here, right? I actually had this. I already had this line in, right? So wow, Kieran had a line. You know, fucking go. Right, no, this line represented supply to me. So spring model. Okay, potential accum. Sure. No manipulation. Can't trade it. No POI. Can't trade it. Spring model. Accum. Volume. Sure. Right. Booth. Reaccum. If I had to reaccum, sure. But I wouldn't trade that personally, bro. And yeah. And now like for your entry, so like less yeah, I wouldn't even call that a change of character, bro. Like we're still lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Like, we're still trending to the downside, bro. Like, boom, 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 boom. That is a buy order for me. That is a buy order for me. That's definitely a fucking buy order for me. Now, seeing this, if you show me 1,000 charts, I would put 99. Well, for me to take a trade, I'd want to see that because if you think about it, right, one drive, two drive, three drive, even if that's your POI, it's already been mitigated and printed a new high, you know? And seeing that distro for me, I'd want to send price down to the spring, take those equal lows, and then send it. So yeah, one drive, two, three. I'll wait for that. So you was watching, doesn't really how you heard him say this quote so many times. You don't have emotions, emotions have you. I understand it as you don't have awareness and understanding of your emotional reactions, whether they're biological signatures or how your thinking changes. You'll be in a never-ending loop. This is why it's so key to understand what flaws you have when it comes to spotting trades, taking trades, reactions, losing, winning, FOMO, learning where, yeah, will get you. Belief examination and mind maps, understanding beliefs around things you have helped me overcome my problems. Awareness is this first step, and what you do with your awareness is a step two. So, yeah, that's a good perspective, bro. I would say for me, when it comes to like, I guess if we're just unpacking that quote, right? You don't have emotions, emotions have you. It's just understanding that all humans are emotional creatures. And the people who think they're not emotional are the most emotional, and the people who think they're emotional are the least emotional. So emotions and feelings are two different things to me. So a feeling is the conscious awareness of an emotion. So for example, I feel stressed. I feel hot. I feel like my fucking shoulders hurt because I trained gym today, right? But feeling and emotion are two different things. Emotion is biological, right? So what for me, like if I were to summarize it without doing a whole psychology training, it would be that all thinking is emotional state dependent. For example, you're having a bad day, you're having a great day, and someone cuts you off in traffic, you don't care. You're having a bad day, someone does something nice, you probably tell them to fuck off because you perceive it bad. So how emotions affect you in trading is they cloud your judgment and they make you to say things like, why did I take that trade? What was I thinking? Or you hesitate. You see a valid setup and you don't enter. You risk too much. Why did I take that trade, bro? That trade wasn't valid. What was I thinking? This trade has to win. Can't move from the charts. You take a trade, take a loss, make a win, give it all back. Taking trades that don't meet your plan. So for me, like with the psychology, it's about learning to understand the process, learning how your emotions influence you. Because again, most people spend their entire trading career
All right, what about now? It should be able to hear me now. Okay. You know what, bro? I literally just got this mic fixed and it's fucking up on me again. Let's go back to that guy and spank him. Anyway, so what was we talking about? Psychology, right? So yeah, like so everyone spends like their entire time when it comes to trading just developing the left side of their brain, right? The logical side. No one spends the time developing the emotional side. So it's like going to the gym and only training one muscle. You're only training your left arm. So now when you're using an exercise that involves both arms, you're all fucked up. So what you also have to do, on top of developing your technicals, your economics, getting chart reviews, is develop your emotional intelligence and your psychology. Because if all thinking is emotional state dependent and you cannot escape that, you only see the market through the lens of your emotions and your beliefs. And the problem is we're unaware of our emotions and the beliefs that run us. It's like, for example, you ever had like a family tradition? Like, for example, like let's say, for example, I don't know, like this is a random tradition one of my friends did. Like he's Indian, and like when it was his birthday, the youngest person would feed him cake. Completely weird. And I asked him like, why do you do it? And he said, I don't know. It's just saying my parents always did. And he asked his parents, you know, Mum, why do we always do this? She's like, I don't know. My parents always did this. So she asked her parents, and they said the same thing. And long story short, there was these beliefs and these traditions that were running them that they weren't even aware of. So how many beliefs and how many emotions that are running your day-to-day actions that you're unaware of? And a lot of the time, that's why you find yourself doing these things that you didn't want to do. It's like, wait, why did I not show up for work? Well, why did I not do the things I had to do today? Oh, I had these to-do lists, I just didn't do it, and I ended up watching Netflix. Oh, I was supposed to do this, but I didn't go through with it. Oh man, I was supposed to get this mentorship, I never followed through with it. Oh, I was supposed to send these charts, but never did it. Oh, I was supposed to wait for this level before I traded, but I didn't. I was supposed to wait. So you do all these things because you're unaware of the emotions and the beliefs that run in you. So until you can become aware of the things that you're unaware of, only then can your life change. But that's the hardest thing. And you become more aware. And like for me, how you start to actually make these long-lasting changes is being aware of the things you wasn't aware of before. And how you do that is through a few steps. One is you get new information, right? So you start learning, whether that's reading books, going through courses. In my opinion, mentorships and learning in person and learning like directly off someone one-to-one is the best way, because you can get the things personalized. You can ask anyway. So you get new information that's applicable to you, because obviously sometimes books and group stuff is good, but it's like not specific. But you get information so that you can increase your level of awareness, so that you can identify when these things are now running you. Because the problem is not that you break your rules. The problem is that you're unaware of the signals and signs that show you you're about to break your rules. So because you're unaware of the signs that are telling you you're about to break your rules, you're not aware of that. Once you can become aware of those signatures and those signs, you can then move on to step two, which is accepting it. Okay, like this thing, when this sign happens, I overtrade. When this sign happens, I break my rules. So you accept it, then you start to transcend it and actually do the work that's required to fix it. Obviously, depending on what it is, the different things. But yeah, bro. So like psychology is definitely very important, bro. I agree with you. Because it does oh yeah, what am I? Because it does mess up your whole as an Indian tradition, son of affection and cares for a reason. But again, right, like these but where does that come from? Right? It's a belief, right? It's something they've picked up from someone. Like it's a tradition that it's been fed down generations and generations and generations. It's a real reason, but are some people sitting there logically thinking this is the best thing for my success? A lot of the time, no, because they're locked in the motions. Does that make sense? Because we're creatures of habit, and people are following these habits they've been doing for 10, 20, 30, 40 years in some cases. So yeah, man, the biggest thing, honestly, when it comes to psychology, bro, is yeah, realizing that we're all emotional creatures and that most of the trading problems people come from. Now, again, this can only be said if you've gone for a mentorship, had all your charts reviewed, and had, like, for example, I've had so many students, right? Like, where I've gone through their charts, their technicals are perfect, absolutely insane, but they're still unprofitable. And it's like, all right, cool. That's no problem. Let's look at your trades. Then we look at their trades and we know that all their back tests are perfect, but the trades they're taking are shit and they're not even meeting the criteria. So we're journaling them and they're like, bro, I know this trade's not valid, but I don't know why I took it. I shouldn't have taken that trade, or I should have taken it, but I hesitated. And it was because they didn't focus on the emotional side of their knowledge. They didn't focus on that emotional understanding. And that's one of the biggest and most important things, right? Is understanding how these emotions and how these beliefs, these hidden forces run our daily actions and our daily decisions. Because every day we have around 60,000 thoughts every day. Women have more. And over 80 to 90% of our thoughts are the same things we think every day. So, how many of your days, how many of your life is just the same cycle repeating? Days are going past, weeks are going past, years are going past, and you're still in the same financial situation. Nothing in your life has changed. Yeah, you might have moved house, moved country, got a new girlfriend, got a new job, but you're still in the same fucking cycles. You're still falling short for the same issues that have been going on. And that's because you're not willing to get new information that's sometimes uncomfortable, to get new information, to start changing your awareness so that you can now make new decisions. And then new decisions lead to new results. One thing I want to know is how to balance a relationship out of trading. I spent most of my annual life single and I find it distracting. When you start dating and trading as a priority, good question, bro. So obviously, like in the relationship world, of course, sometimes emotions, again, psychology, big thing, right? Emotions can take over and you want to spend time with a girl, whatever. But you actually find that when you, and this is not a dating advice, right? But when you focus on, wait, I got to say the quote right. When you focus on money, right, the honeys are attracted to you. But when you focus on the honeys, the money is not attracted to you. So you just got to focus and stay on your purpose. And like for me, from my experience, women, anytime I focus on the woman more than my purpose, I've lost them. Anytime I focus more on my purpose than the woman, like not trying to be weird, they like it more. So there's a really good book about this called The Way of the Superior Man. It's a fantastic book, The Way of the Superior Man. And I mean, you're never going to be perfect, but the biggest thing is building structure and having intentional times. So, like with me and my girl, well, my wife, like I have times and days where it's her time, So, like Saturdays, you will probably notice you cannot you cannot get a call with me on a Saturday. And you probably won't be able to speak to me on a Saturday either, because that is my time with my girl. Like, and that's a boundary I'm not willing to compromise on. Versus like times like now, this is your guys' time. This is my trading time. So she knows not to cross that boundary. So it's about building structure around your life and planning these things out. The best thing you can do is sit down with a notepad and pen and write out your days, plan your days. And the more structured you can be with your days and the more time you can do and have for these activities, bro, for dating, relationships, hobbies, fun, gym, health, whatever, that's when you'll feel more in control because you can only control your choices, right? So if you can control, okay, when am I going to the gym? When am I trading? When am I studying? When am I getting mentorship? When am I getting feedback? And when am I just letting my hair down and have fun? Like, of course, sometimes you need to have fun. But I guess the biggest question is, are you escaping by trying to go to the pleasure or are you rewarding yourself? For me, I like to reward myself. If I haven't achieved anything good, like I'm not gonna go and start doing stupid shit. But yeah, the biggest thing is structure, bro. And um, yeah, like setting times. That's it, bro. Like the honeys and monies, yeah, 100%, bro. Well, that's true exactly, Eddie, what you said. And you got to decide the path you're going on. Um, and I think that's really the biggest thing. Like, not trying to be cocky, but I've had a lot of experience with women, and any time that I've prioritized them over my work, it never worked out. But when I prioritized my work and my purpose and my mission, it now made me appreciate them more because it was like, let's say you put in like a 12-hour shift, right? You're doing a lot of shit. And then now, or let's say all week you've been on your shit, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you've been on your purpose, you've been grinding, doing all your shit. Shit, even Friday you've been grinding too, maybe even Sunday. I grind 6 days a week. But that one day is my off day. And on that off day, bro, I'll do whatever I need to do, to enjoy it. And when you've earned it, you enjoy, you're more present on that day. And then you're refreshed when it comes back to the next day of grinding, you're more refreshed now. That's it. Go for the green before getting it in between. That's it, bro. Thai women are so different than Westerners. It's absolutely crazy trying to find one that will let me just trade and spend most time absorbing. All right, bro. There's a women. You got to hide your ears for a second. Right, I'm sorry. But sometimes they don't know what they want, bro. Like they shave their eyebrows off and then draw it on the next day. Like they don't know what they want. So you just gotta focus on your path, bro. Right? You gotta focus on what you're doing, and you gotta be strict for it, bro. And the thing is, right? Here's the thing. My friend said this to me, right? He said, "Would you really want someone who is gonna break up with you or not love you because you're better in yourself?" Like let that land for a second, bro. If your girl is on your case, oh, well, you don't spend time with me. Oh, I'm building something here. You know what I mean? Right? And it's true. Like my girl don't work. I am her income, right? So the point is, when you can get your shit together, they will fall. I'm not saying you don't have your shit together, but when you're already that guy, they will fall in line a little bit easier. Um, But the biggest thing, bro, is staying strict on your purpose. And it's kind of backwards, but it's like sometimes absence does make the heart grow fonder, you know? So sometimes if you are like, yeah, something in the honeymoon period, yeah, it's all great, but like, would you really want to be with someone who's going to hold you back from your shit? Like, if you're trying to work, if you're trying to grind, right? And she's causing more drama, like, is that really someone that's beneficial for your future? And sometimes, bro, you just gotta really like think about it and either like tell them the truth and say, look, this is my boundary, this is what I'm doing, and this is a non-negotiable for me. Like, I love you, I care for you, I want to spend time with you, but this is my time for this. And if we're gonna do our thing, we can do it. We'll have a lot of fun. But your time is this time. For example, I don't know, like obviously Thailand time's a bit different, but like let's say, okay, look, baby, Monday I'll chill with you because the markets are sharp. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, I'm doing my shit. I'm not even, what I mean? I've got stuff to do. But on the Saturday, maybe, or that time you allocate, you can be fully present with them and do that thing. And they'll probably appreciate that more. How important is having a daily routine? Do you have one? Like when do you backtest, educate, and stay up to date with everything regarding this markets? So I'm a weirdo, right? I hate routines. I hate authority and I hate being told what to do. And that was my biggest downfall my entire career. And that was why I didn't become profitable for so long because I didn't want to have a routine, didn't want to submit to authority, didn't want to get mentorship. And so for me now, like I have routines, but it's not so much like because each day slightly varies in terms of like I have set. So what I do is every night I sit down, have an alarm on my phone at 9 p.m. So it's probably going to go off in a minute actually, right? And all I do is I plan out my days. So I'll figure out what set tasks do I have to do tomorrow, right? So for example, for me, I train at the gym from 1:30 till normally 3 p.m. with like my coaches, right? So that's in the gym. So I'm in the gym at that time, right? I might have a few calls, might have a few meetings at, I don't know, 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 7 p.m., right? Like today, and I've got those set things. And then what I then do is I allocate different, like, so I have different blocks. So I have one block for example, like, let's say creating content, one block for replying to students, one block for trading, one block for educating, one block for back testing, one block, so I have blocks, I have time blocks. But the key is I plan it out the night before. So and this is all pen and paper. So I'll sit down, all right, cool, tomorrow training from this time to this time. All right, cool. Here are my must do's. Walking my dog from this time to this time, meeting from this time to this time. And then, okay, what is now the one thing I need to do that's going to move the needle the most? So I don't have to-do lists, I have priority lists. So what is the one thing if I do right now is going to get me the most results? So maybe for you is having a call with your mentor. Maybe for you is reviewing your charts. Maybe for you is, I don't know, you're going to have that. And attack that thing first. The one thing that's going to move the needle the most, do that first. Ideally in the mornings when your willpower is the highest, that's the best time. But yeah, bro, so like it's not even a how, it's more of a what, right? It's what you do is you sit down, you plan out your days. And the more you can plan, sometimes you got to wake up earlier, sometimes you got to go to bed later, but you have to plan it. And when I say plan it, bro, like be super anal. So like give yourself, for example, and I don't know how long it will take you or how much time you have, but give yourself time. So like for example, if I'm in the gym, I give myself an hour and a half. So if it's longer than that, I need to leave. And I give myself 30 minutes for cardio and education when I'm in the morning. So if I'm not going to do it longer, I'm not going to do it shorter. There's non-negotiables. So the more precise you can plan out your days and structure it is the better. You might also have certain days of the week for certain things, right? So you might have maybe, for example, okay, Monday's more for psychology, Tuesday's more for technicals, Wednesday's more for economics. You don't have to follow that, but like you can split it in those areas. So like this day you do more of this day you do more of that. But plan out your days down to the minute, bro. Like literally, like in my notes, I'll be like, all right, cool. Let's say I'm waking up at, it doesn't matter what time you wake up, but let's say you wake up at 8 for whatever reason, right? All right, cool. From 8 till 8:15, I'm making breakfast. You get it? From 8:15 to 8:25, I'm eating it. And I'm listening to audios, from 8:25 to 8:35, I'm taking a shit. I'm planning that. I'm planning all this stuff. And that's how precise you got to be. If you're just like, oh yeah, I've got a to-do list. Tomorrow I need to back test, educate myself. You are behind. But if you're super precise and like, all right, cool, surgical with it. From this time till this time, I'll do that. And time yourself. Give yourself that time. And if you go over, doesn't matter. It's okay. Well, no, sorry, it's not okay. Like if you go over, you stop. That's the point. And like the point of having these blocks is to not feel guilty when the block's over. So like, let's say for example, I've gone through a block where I'm trading and now the trading block's over. I'm not thinking about trading or doing anything trading related outside of that block. If I'm thinking about business or content, I'm not thinking about anything outside of that if it's not in that allocated block. Does that make sense? So allocate your blocks for different things and be intentional with your time. So I think it's very important, bro, because we are the sum of our habits, right? That's what we are, right? We rise and fall to our habits. So if you're not, and like, it's just so easy for time just to go past. Time to go past, opinions to form, manipulation. It's just so easy for time to pass. Like you're sitting there and oh my God, this amount of time's gone by. So that's why you got to be intentional with your time and know and set allocated hours and minutes for different tasks. But yeah, like, and then from there, like staying up to date and staying up to date, bro. Like that will come naturally because when you're doing something every day, it becomes part of you. Like you ain't got like, bro. I could be in the gym right now. Like for example, the other day, one of my one of my friends, he asked me like, "Oh, the war in Iran, what's going on with the markets, bro?" And mate, I just started spewing everything, like, bro, and he was just like, "What the fuck are you think?" And that's the thing, because I do it every day. It's already there. That's the point. So if you're constantly up to date and this is part of your routines, this is part of your activities, you're attending our calls every week. There's 4 live sessions a week we do. I do my 2 calls, Nathan does his 2 calls. If you're attending every one of them, and top of that, booking one-to-one sessions, sending charts in the group, asking questions, especially with the one-to-ones, that's the fucking shit that gets you paid. You're doing that, you're going to always be up to date with it. There's no way you don't become up to date with it. It's like, all right, if you go down the same street every day and then and you start seeing roadworks, you're going to notice it. You know what I mean? You're there every day. And it's the same sort of thing with this. Did you ever struggle at the beginning when training yourself to become more disciplined? And what struggles did you face when it comes to planning out each day and being able to stay consistent with your plan? So, yeah, bro. Like, I hate authority. I hate being told what to do. I despise it, bro. Like, I hate it. So even myself having a plan and a routine, I hate it. It's that I don't like that. I like freedom. That's for me. That's my biggest value. So it was very hard to do that. And like, yeah, it was. But I think with discipline specifically, bro, it wasn't like this. Okay, I wasn't undisciplined in one area. I was undisciplined in all my areas. And that was the thing I missed, right? That was the thing I missed. Because discipline's a muscle, right? And you build it over time. So you can't just lead an extremely undisciplined life, doing all sorts of shit all the time, and then expecting to be disciplined in every area. Does that make sense? How you do one thing, how you do everything. So it was like, for me, I wasn't disciplined in the gym, wasn't disciplined with my diet, wasn't disciplined with women, wasn't disciplined with sex, wasn't disciplined with friends, wasn't disciplined with drugs and alcohol. So my whole life revolved around just doing what I felt like. Oh, I feel uncomfortable, let me drink alcohol. Oh, I feel bored, let me smoke weed. Oh, I feel horny, let me go get some. Oh, I feel alone, let me go meet my friends. Like, so I was always doing shit. I'm hungry, let me eat, right? It was always just doing what I felt. And then once I started to, one, change my environment and get around better people, high level people, it did start to rub off a little bit. Um, and two, when I started living it, practicing it. So, for example, starting in one area, like giving yourself a time where you're going to train in the gym every day, giving yourself that time. All right, I'm going to train at this time till this time. Getting clean on your diet, starting to count your macros, count your calories, right? Knowing what you're eating. And then those disciplines start to rub off. Little things like tidying up your room, tidying up your house, like little things like that. It's the small things that build up. So for me, bro, yeah, it like what struggles, it was just a case of falling to my feelings. Like, oh, I know I should do this, but just not doing it. And how I managed to overcome that, like, so again, oh, I need to journal this trade, need to buy this, need to get this mentorship, need to do this call, need to journal my trade. And I just didn't do it because I didn't have any structure in all my life. So once I started having structure and being intentional and saying, okay, I'm going to do this at this time in advance, because it's like this, bro, right? If you've got no plans tomorrow, how easy is it for you to just wake up late? It's easy, right? Well, you just wake up late. Like tomorrow, if you haven't got work, you haven't got any meetings, you've got nothing to do, you're going to wake up at God knows what time. Probably going to go sleep late. But if I tell you, you got to go to the airport tomorrow at 6 a.m., what time are you going to be up? Fucking 3 a.m., right? You're up because you know you got something to do. So it's about creating those plans for yourself and building habits, bro. So it's all a habit. So habits have triggers. So you need to create a trigger for yourself. So whether that's sticky notes in your room, alarms on your phone. Alarms on my phone it's annoying, but that's what works for me. Having alarms on your phones, being around environments, being around people who support these habits. Because now, like, I've orchestrated my life around people who are going to help me get better. I surround myself with people who have the results I want. I surround myself with people who have the characteristics I want. Like I'm not surrounding myself with people who I don't, you know what I mean? Who are just bums. And if you're around bums all the time, and like sometimes it feels harsh because like you might have a lot of friends that are great people, fantastic lads or girls, but they just got no habits for success. So you can still love them, but you just got to love them from a distance. And say, look, bro, ooh, I wouldn't say this, but just, hey, bro, you want to meet up today? I can't, bro. I'll catch you next week. Hey, bro, what are you doing tonight? Oh, man, I'm busy. I'll catch you next week. And then eventually they'll stop reaching out. Good, because then the universe will make space for new people to come in your life. But for me, yeah, bro, like that was really it. That was really it for me, bro. So how it was consistent was just building the habits. And like realistically, bro, like I'm just gonna be honest with you, bro. Like even there's days now, bro, where I still fuck up. I'm not perfect. And I think that's the biggest thing you got to realize. Like no one is gonna be perfect. I still have days where I might have a little edible or something. I might have a little drink here and there. I might go over my calories one day a little bit. It's okay because it's not about like consistency. Right? I think I showed Charlie this thing the other day. Right? Consistency, right, is not this. Consistency is not every day being 100% intense, bro. Like consistency is not every day you're full. It's some day you're empty, but you did something. Some days you got more energy, but you did something. Some days you're full, but you did something. Some days you're less, but you did something. That's really what consistency is over time, right? It's not every day's perfect. So what you want to do is if you fuck up, it's going to happen. I fuck up, bro. I'm human. I don't dwell on the past. I focus on what can I change and what can I do now to be different. So Also, to make it easier, give yourself small tasks to complete. Like, I wouldn't be like, all right, look. So let's say you just started mentorship. I won't be like, all right, bet I've got to go through the whole boot camp, all 20 episodes, all 25 hours of content in 5 minutes. No, motherfucker. Okay, I'm gonna do 30 minutes today, and then tomorrow I'm gonna do 30 minutes. Then the next day I'm gonna do 35 minutes, then 40 minutes, then 50 minutes. Okay, I'm marking up the charts. I'm not gonna do a mark up everything. I'm gonna mark up one chart and send one screenshot. I'm not gonna read the whole book. I'm gonna read one page. And then you progressively overload. You get bigger and bigger and bigger over time. Does that make sense? That's it. Live your life. Live your life right now like most people won't, so you can enjoy the rest of your life like most people can't. That's true. And a lot of time you will have to sacrifice things, bro. There will be fear of missing out, but I think the biggest thing is also having like goals and targets and north stars and asking yourself like, is this really conducive to my success? Like, like the other day, like like I was sitting there, right, and I was bored. Like literally, this was on Friday, right? I was sitting there, I was bored, and I was like, all right, I'm getting a travel itch. You lot know I love to travel. And I was like, all right, cool. And I was looking on the flights. I was about to buy a flight, about to get some sick hotels, and I didn't. And you know why? Because I had a goal. My goal is, I'm on a specific health diet right now. I'm very strict on my calories, very strict on my training. So it was like, cool, I can succumb for a couple days or week of fun and travel and get new experiences, but then I have a goal. What do I want more? Do I want this six pack, or do I want to travel more? Okay, if I travel, okay, I could count my calories. It's gonna be hard because the gym. I'm gonna miss a few days. Okay, I'm not gonna be able to count all this oils in the. You see where I'm going with this? So it's about having that north star and having those also targets for yourself and asking you like, what do I want more? What do I want more? Do I want to quit my job more? Do I want a couple extra bit of money in my bank account, or do I want information that's going to change my life more? You know, do I want to watch this Netflix episode and feel entertained for 20 minutes, or do I want to work towards my future and quit my job? And sometimes people are too comfortable. Sometimes people don't have enough pain. But yeah, you can either change out of inspiration or desperation. And so I think, yeah, environment, bro, is one of the biggest things, and just building the habits. That's the easiest thing. Did you set yourself a monetary goal when you started trading, and did that help where you wanted to go, or did that add pressure? So, I mean, you need to have like a target for sure, but like I don't have like monetary goals in terms of, I mean, obviously I want to be a fucking billionaire, right? But like, I don't sort of set goals in terms of like, okay, I need to make 5 grand today in the market. I need to make 50K this month. Like, no, like it's more so I need to follow my plan and manage my risk. But in order to quit my job, yes, you needed a freedom number, 100%. I mean, you can have goals and targets to work with, but it's more like abstract goals in terms of like, all right, I want to have a 8-figure account, 9-figure account, right? Rather than just, okay, I need to make 1% today. And I like to reverse engineer my goals. So like, okay, for example, all right, if I want to quit my job, well, I need to know, well, how much are my monthly expenses? And this, I mean, freedom number is how much does it cost for you to live every month? So let's say your food, rent, electricity, insurance, whatever is like 2K a month, right? Like, I don't know what everyone's bills are, but let's say it's 2K a month. So you take that, times it by 2, so 4K, double it. Now you've got a buffer. Then you times that by 12. So that means, right, if for a whole 2 years, if you don't work, you don't make a penny, you're going to survive. And you basically you get that money from payouts and withdrawals from your trading account. And once you've got that, well, you can quit your job. But how do you get to the point where you can get payouts? You have to build a track record. To build a track record, right, you need to have 100, 200, 300, 400 trades that prove you're profitable. To do that, you have to do a sample size of 20 trades. To do that, you have to take one trade. To do that, you have to speak to your mentor and ask, have I completed all the tasks? Am I ready to start a sample size now? Are my technicals substantial? Have I learned enough skills? Am I applying the system correctly? And to do that, you have to go through each concept individually. And to do that, well, obviously you know what you need to do, right? You're a mentor. But yeah, bro. So like you need a target like that to quit your job. But yeah, I don't like to set like. I mean, in terms of goals, like I have cut-offs. Like okay, if I make 2%, if I make 4%, all right, I'll hit a TP, two TPs, I'll cut off trading, of course. But it's not like, oh, I have to make 10K this week. I have to make 20K this week because like again, like a few weeks ago, market conditions trash, consolidating. What did we say, guys? We're not really going to be trading today. So now, if I had that goal, oh, I need to make 20K today. You see where we're going with that. So you can have targets like that, bro. But I like to sort of reverse engineer my goals and set into like what daily tasks I do that will eventually build up and contribute to that goal. Because I can't control what I get, I can control what I put in. And if I can control my inputs, I always get the right outputs. You hear me, bro? I hope you do. Right, so easy to start slipping off, or setting smaller everyday tasks and creating a more structured day will slowly help create the environment I need to be disciplined. But yeah, but people, bro, that's who you surround yourself with, bro. Physical people as well, bro. Like you gotta cut people off, bro. Like straight up, man. Like like if you're surrounding yourself with people who like look at this, bro. Right, go open your phone right now, right? Go on your contact book, go on your text messages, and just look at the last 5 people you texted. John, Jack, James, Sarah, fucking Wilson, right? Oh, the fuck those people are. And then add up all their income. Okay, he might make 1K a month. He might make 2K a month. She might make 3K a month. And then you add all that up, divide it by how many people there are. So let's say it was 5 people, divide that by 5, that's going to be your income because you are the average of the people you surround yourself with. So yeah, like physically, like the thing is, when you start surrounding yourself with high level people, like that's only when you really notice it rubbing off. And sometimes, bro, it's lonely. Sometimes you've got to cut people off. And like sometimes we think, oh no, that's not holding me back. But for me, that was one of the biggest things of the people I was surrounding myself with because it's subconsciously. It's not always consciously. You're not like, oh, for example, let's say one of your friends calls in sick to work. Okay, consciously, oh yeah, I'm not gonna do that. But subconsciously, that energy is rubbing off on you. You're becoming a quitter, a slacker, a lazy boy. So sometimes you gotta. So environment, yeah, it's really important, bro. Like who you surround yourself with and who you talk to on a day-to-day basis. So for me, bro, like you remember when I started trading, bro? Like I stopped chilling with all the boys, stopped chatting to girls, stopped going on every scene. You did not see me for years. And then when I come back from quitting my job, traveling the world, now everyone's like, oh, hello. You know what I mean? But sometimes, bro, like, you got to give up to go up. And you can't let your attachment to certain states of mind and certain people, because some people are there for seasons, some people are there for reasons. Now, of course, right, you can have your boys, you can have your OGs, of course, and sometimes you need that, right? Sometimes you need the boys just to go fuck around with. Sometimes you need that. But if 90% of your time is surrounding yourself with those people, don't be surprised why your results are where they are. Although this is mainly a trading community, I'm really grateful for the advice and the opinions you've given outside of my trading. My life as a whole has changed from the best, from protecting my energy habits, perspectives, and ways of thinking, both as a man and as a trader. And you've grown an insane amount from the first call. More growth to come as well. Thank you, Kieran. You spelled my name wrong. It's all good. But that was a beautiful message, bro. Thank you. I'm going to take a photo of that and upload that to my Instagram. That's fantastic. But no, bro, you're right. Like environment is important, and like leveling up in all areas, it for me is one of my core principles too. So I'm glad that it resonates, and that's it, bro. Like as a rising tide raises all ships. So when you start to grow in your ways of thinking, your perspective, your habits, you're becoming better. So you will get better results. It's 100%. I'm glad, man. Any books or podcasts that help you learn more about yourself and implement? Oh, bro, you know what? Like, there's so many. There's so many. Um, David Goggins is one. Sometimes it's energetic, bro. Like sometimes, like for example, like sometimes in the gym, like I'll listen to those like US military chants. You know, the ones like hard work. Like, sometimes it's energetic. Sometimes you just gotta be like hear and feel that energy. Sometimes you just gotta be physically be around disciplined people. Like I challenge every one of you to do this, and this is something I do in every gym in the world. And everyone should be going to the gym, by the way. If you're not going to the gym, get your fat ass in there, right? How you gonna trade the world's largest financial market if you can't lift the fucking world's lightest dumbbell? Come on, right? But go up to the biggest person in the gym, not the fattest, but go up to like the most muscly hench guy you see, and just hit him with a compliment and a question, like, "Bro, you look great. Like, no homo, but how do I look like you?" And start networking, start making friends. And when I do that in every gym I go to, and I've made some fantastic friends because they're the people who I want to associate with because they've got the qualities I want, and that rubs off on me. You see where we're going with this? So sometimes physical environment, bro, it's friends, it's who you're hanging out with. Um, but I have to shoot in a minute. I need to get another meal. But like top of my head, one of my favorite like I mean, this is just sort of all well-rounded. Like this isn't really like specific for discipline so much, but like it's just all levels of personal development. There's a guy called Owen Cook. He's really good. This guy. There's a lot of self-help stuff. Some stuff is like business, some stuff is like relationships and stuff. But um, like yeah, I really like watching his stuff. Yeah, like Owen Cook. Or sometimes he's got one called like RSD Tyler, like an alter ego, which is really good. I mean, like it depends on what you want to obviously learn about. But I want to go to one of his events in London. But he's got some great stuff. It all depends on what you want to. Like this is good. The truth about success. Why you should die and miss a day in the gym. Like he's got some really good stuff on here. He's one of my favorite. RSD Tyler, or just type in Owen Cook. It's his alter ego. He's got a lot of stuff in here and everything. In terms of other discipline, um, top of my head, yeah, I've got a few. Let me see. Let me go to my playlist. I have a playlist somewhere. How do I see my playlist? Wait there. I might be able to just share the whole playlist. Let me see. Can I share this whole playlist? Is there a way I can share a playlist? You guys know? Um, um, one second. You guys have to share a playlist? Make it public. It's unlisted. How do I? Is there a way I can do that? Okay, edit. Here we go. Unlisted. Just copy the link. How do I get the link? Wait. If I send this, right? Can you see the whole playlist or just the one video? Can you guys see the playlist? Non-injectable peptides. I don't know if they really work, bro. The non-injectable ones. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's it, bro. Like use the groups, bro. 100%, man. Like meet up with some of the guys or girls in the chat for sure. That's the best thing to do. But yeah, like that playlist. Dan Peña's good. Julian Blanc is really good for like this video here is like a really good inner trauma video because a lot of the time it's not that you're like undisciplined, it's just that you have inner self-identity, right? And you don't see yourself as disciplined and those core beliefs are working against you. So this is a really good train. Actually, these guys are going to be out in America soon. I might need to fly out there and see them. But yeah, these guys are great. Dan Pena. Who else? David Goggins can be good. This is a fantastic one too. Um, Dan Locke, the Invisible Force self-image is great. Yeah, David Goggins, uh, Bob Proctor, Owen Cook. Derek Moneyberg's great. Ray Dalio. Um, Psycho-Cybernetics is fantastic. Yeah, Psycho-Cybernetics is a great book on that as well, bro. Um, Habit book. I can't remember what it's called. Habit book. Um, forget what it's called. Atomic Habits. Oh, this fucking one is sick. The One Thing, Gary Keller. Like, listen to that audio today. 100%. That's some sauce. But yeah, Owen Cook is like my go-to, bro, for everything. Cool. The Aquarians, yeah, bro, 100%. And like, if you're on this too, we did this a few weeks ago. You might have not remembered, but go to this website, and this is the best thing you can do. Type in like cafe astrology. Now, I know some of you hear astrology and you're like, it's bullshit, right? Like, remember, lunatics, when the moon goes full, the moon controls the water, right? It controls the tides. Your body's made out of water. So the moon and the planets do have an effect on you. Now, this isn't like horoscopes. Horoscopes are trash. This is a birth chart that's based on your unique personality. So type in cafe astrology, natal chart. Come up here to free astrology birth chart and then put your information in, right? Put your date of birth, whatever, all right. Put your information in, put your time of birth, put your birthplace, all right. And then what you want to do is once, scroll down a bit and then copy all of this, because this is who you are, right? And all the different parts of your personality. Copy all of this into ChatGPT, all right? I think I did it wrong. It's calling me a woman. Yeah, I definitely did it wrong. It's calling me a woman. I'm definitely not a woman. I hope. Wait, yep, still not a woman. Yeah, so do it right. Make sure you're not a woman unless you are a woman. Copy all this into ChatGPT and then start asking it to create a plan on you, to double down on your strengths, to get rid of your weaknesses. And you can ask it as well, bro. Like, how can I become more disciplined? How can I become more disciplined? Because the way you and your personality might be a little bit different to someone else, So I'll definitely do this, bro. On that, that's probably the best way to do it. Gold, gold. I mean, it'd be more so on the short side, but there's nothing I want to do for a technical standpoint to trade it today. Cool. Okay, I'm gonna call it a day. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Nathan should be running his call tomorrow at his normal time. He'll drop all the stuff in the chat. I will host my next call on Thursday, same times. Again, all the stuff will be dropped in the chat. Obviously, the recording will be available soon. So if you guys did get value, don't be afraid to go in the chats. Let me know one thing you liked and learnt, and I'll see you all on our next call.